Hi there, and thank you for joining me for today's live reading of A Quirk of Destiny by Catherine Greenall. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Green and Pleasant Land. It was a bright, sunny day in Baxendale as we walked through the fields, past fluttering blue and pink meadow flowers. The bees were buzzing and a light breeze was blowing in the trees, making a comforting, rushing sound. The hills in the distance were hazy in the midday sun. We could see a herd of cows milling around in a green field, munching the sweet grass and making the odd, sudden loud mooing noise that made us laugh. As we crossed the stream, the water trickled idly along, and the odd stickleback caused a flurry of bubbles as it came up for air. And yet, something way underneath the rural scene's surface was wrong. We didn't know how wrong until much later. Chapter 2, A Worrying Development. The door to Calum O'Connell's home office stood open, and through it a large, dark oak desk was visible. His phone was ringing insistently, but he wasn't answering it. He had obviously not gone far, as he had not taken his ever-present mobile phone, and he had left a half-full glass of wine on the desk next to an open bottle of Shiraz. The clues to his work were in the open journal, which contained an article about genetic engineering, and he had made several pages of handwritten notes, punctuated by formulae and spiraling diagrams. A discarded dark jacket lay carelessly over a chair, and a guitar had been taken out of its black case, which lay beside it on the floor. A music book was propped up next to it. At some point, Calum had obviously taken a break to strum his guitar. Reference books were strewn untidily around the floor, discarded as each had served their purpose. A damp towel lay on the floor in the corner of the room, dropped and left where it had fallen. Yesterday's newspaper was draped on the arm of the chair, the pages left uneven and creased, and open at an article he had been reading. A door slammed somewhere in the house, and excited, deep barks resounded in the hallway. A deep, melodic voice with an Irish lilt scolded, "Buster, get down from there." More barking. Then a tall man with floppy blonde hair ran up the stairs and into the office. Calum O'Connell was working long hours for his work at the Department for Food and Environment, DFE, these days, and at the end of a long week, he was feeling tired. His job involved helping to assess new foodstuffs and technologies in the authorization process for the food to be grown or sold in the United Kingdom and Europe. As he sank to the chair in front of the desk, picking up the journal and sipping his wine, the mobile phone began to ring again. "Hello, Calum O'Connell here." "Where have you been? I've been trying to get you all evening." It was Rob Moore, a friend and colleague in the authorizations team at the DFE. "Guess what I heard today at work?" "Dunno, but I suppose you're going to tell me." "There's a rumor that a genetically modified animal feed already in use in the UK is causing unpredictable side effects, and the whole thing has been covered up for over a year now." Jeremy's none too pleased. He feels he's been kept out of the loop. He thinks government ministers must have been involved in the cover-up. Jeremy Evans was the environment director at DFE and tended to be rather self-important. "You're joking," said Calum. "I've just been reading in this month's Journal of Biotechnology that tests in Italy showed that GM DNA from animal feed was found in the milk that the animals produced. No one knows the effects of this on human health yet. Why is this being covered up? How come they have not withdrawn the product?" "Well, as you know, in the UK and Europe, dairy products and eggs from animals fed with GM material do not have to be labeled," continued Rob. "At the department, we carry out a risk assessment of GM products on a case-by-case basis. This new product is a GM soya called G517. It had the usual evidence submitted to us by the manufacturer, Novagen Tech. It was authorized and has been in widespread use in the UK for almost 2 years." Calum had carried out extensive evidence gathering during his authorization work into GM products, including animal feed, and had come to his own conclusions about its safety. He was determined that he would not consume GM material and always bought organic products. He was also vegan, having been convinced about the inherent health and safety issues in the meat and dairy industry by the mad cow disease and foot and mouth scares in the UK. He was also a fervent believer in animal rights and knew that there was much cruelty and death involved in the farming of animals for food, even for supposedly vegetarian food. Jeremy says that the ministers for business, environment, and food seem to be involved, but he does not know how yet. There's going to be a hell of a stink about this next week. Jeremy is fuming. Well, I think we should be armed and advanced with all the research we can find on this. The ministers have to be made aware of the risks they are taking here and not immediately withdrawing this product, said Calum. It's not just human health. The environment and wildlife around the crop growing sites could be affected. Okay, I'll let Ben know too. Ben Turner was a genetic scientist and their colleague at DFE. All three had started work there around the same time and become firm friends. They arranged to meet on Tuesday, the next time that Calum was due at the department office in London, to compare notes. That would give them some time on Monday to gather whatever research they could find on GM animal feed and the impacts on health and the environment. Calum switched off his phone. He didn't want any more disturbances tonight. He just needed to get some rest. He went down to switch off the lights and check on Buster, who was now sleeping in his basket, exhausted after their long walk. He had adopted Buster from the local animal rescue shelter, and he was crossbred between a border collie and a German shepherd dog. What have they done, Buster? He said sadly as he patted the big, floppy haired dog. Buster whined softly.